It's kind of a mistake if a woman makes it too easy. She's just so easy and so available. I think that's a real mistake, because I think of it like I said earlier, men are visual hunters. Men like to hunt, and you know,
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fascinating Womanhood channel, where we talk about all things that have to do with femininity and building strong relationships. I am Cherry Lynn, and I'm so excited to be here with my parents, Dixie Andelin Forsyth and Dr. Robert Forsyth. Hi.
Hi.
We're excited to have Bob here today because we don't always get to have him, but we need a little bit of a male perspective on this one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we thought this would be really neat because he's not only a man, but he's also a neuropsychologist. So
Exactly. We'll just dive right in. So we're talking about 5 ways to attract a masculine man. We have had so many women ask us to do this subject. Before we start talking about the 5 ways, we want to talk about what we mean by a masculine man. We want to define what we mean by that, because I think there's a lot of definitions out there about what it means to be masculine.
yes, because obviously we're talking about a good masculine man as opposed to a bad masculine man. And so I asked Bob if he would mind giving us his description of a good masculine man.
you know, you can mix masculinity into one big box. You know, I think, like you say, there's probably masculinity that is strong and trying to accomplish something, and maybe even potentially dangerous at times. And so I guess strength, confidence, ability to protect and organize and get some things done. I think of myself as enjoying accomplishing something, being competent, and being able to be recognized as productive and responsible. Now, I know some men that kind of take advantage of that strength or that perspective of, yeah, I want to accomplish something. But, you know, I think men are kind of, I don't know, maybe they're visual hunters in a way, and they're always looking for something, a target or something that they want to accomplish. Sometimes in relationship with women, they take that kind of an approach.
Well, when you talk about dangerous, what you mean, don't you think, is that they could be dangerous, but it's managed.
Well, that's what I was that's exactly what I was going to say. I was getting the fact that really strength is great and it can be used in a lot of different ways, but the ideal, I think, truly masculine man is strong, maybe even dangerous, but it's under control. He manages.
It could be dangerous if he had to be.
He could be if he has to be. And in a way, that's great. I mean, we need masculine men to protect us from things. They protect our country, our cities, our homes. Yeah, we need that masculinity. And we're always glad when we see the first responder goes into a fire and rescues people. We say, oh, that's great.
They're dangerous enough that they can do very difficult things, and they're strong enough to do it, but it's managed where they don't get out of control.
I think it's a mistake to lump all men together and say masculinity is toxic. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, remember, some men are players. Right. And if you're single and you're looking for a guy, some men just want benefits quickly from you.
Too, the one thing that I hear constantly is that masculine men are these powerful, confident men. And I don't think that's always necessarily the case. I think masculine men come in many different shapes and sizes, if you will. There are shy men that are still masculine. There are kind of
artistic men,
and
musical, that are still very masculine.
And understanding that will help you as a woman to be able to know how to use your femininity. And what is it we always say, you know, opposites attract, right? Being able to use that in opposition to him. And that's kind of what we want to get into today.
Sometimes women misunderstand masculine men for, arrogance, macho, and they think because it looks confident, it looks outgoing and assertive, sometimes it's a cover-up for low self-esteem.
Do you think that macho / arrogance equals a masculine man?
It's like didn't you say?
Well, I think what I was thinking is that macho is a little bit like a woman who tries too hard. She maybe shows too much skin, and she's kind of, in a way, thinking that all she's really got is maybe attractiveness or something. And a guy can do this sort of a version of that, being tough and macho. It's kind of somebody trying to maybe assume they've got just one thing to offer. They don't really have, there's not more to them. So maybe they can be real macho or real voluptuous and seductive. And there's more to them than that. It's more complicated.
That makes sense.
Have you ever seen a movie where you felt like the actor was overacting? I kind of think of it like that, like they're overacting, overplaying,
overcompensating.
So watch out for that. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into our 5. Yeah. So number 1,
your feminine appearance. Men like a woman who is not like them. When you talked before about opposites attracting, it's a contrast. What do they need with one more guy? You know, they want somebody who's actually feminine. So your appearance and your mannerisms, but your appearance can be anything, like in my book, Timeless, we talk about anything from sporty to very romantic. There's different styles, but the look is always feminine.
Right. We're not just talking about wearing pink. We're talking about soft fabrics and softness.
Emphasize the differences, whether your style is very sporty or dramatic, like, say, Elizabeth Taylor, where you like wearing flashy things, or very understated. But also make sure you wear clothes that flatter your figure. We all know kind of what, like we say, I can't wear shorter skirts because I don't like my legs or whatever, but finding something that flatters you, that it'll help you feel good about yourself too, is to wear things that flatter you. And here's another one that isn't just about clothes, choose feminine smells, whether it's soap, cologne, or whatever you use, and make sure it's feminine. Don't resort to grabbing your husband's and throwing it off.
A feminine smell will linger. You remember it.
That being said, I heard somebody say once that if there was a perfume that smelled like cinnamon rolls, men are always attracted to cinnamon rolls. But I don't.
I've never seen
that. So, and feminine mannerisms, we have a video on YouTube about mannerisms, don't we, Cherry?
Yeah, we can attach that to this too. So the feminine mannerisms are a huge part of your appearance, and the way that you present yourself. I think a masculine man, if he sees a woman that is carrying herself in a very competitive and masculine way, it's just not quite as attractive. And I know that's incredibly vague, but that's what the video is for.
Right. Okay. Now, number 2, your feminine self-worth. This is appealing to men. Your self-worth. This value is in you, whatever your age, whatever your race, whether you're born with a lot of natural good looks or not. This is innate value that you actually are, but it's whether you know that you are or not, that you are a valuable person. He needs to be able to see that you actually take care of yourself, that you don't look like you think you're not worth it. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think when you can learn to love yourself, it's going to you can't fake that. I mean, maybe you can for a short period of time, but women that don't really learn to love themselves are going to come across as, I don't know, to a masculine man. And Dad, maybe you can give your perspective on this. I think if a woman is constantly in this place of, like, I don't know, victimhood, or like, there's a lot of different boxes that we could talk about with that, but like a woman that doesn't show that confidence and that she really cares about herself and takes care of herself, I think a truly good masculine man is going to be a little turned off by that.
It's kind of a mistake if a woman makes it too easy. She's just so easy and so available. I think that's a real mistake, because I think of it like I said earlier, men are visual hunters. Men like to hunt. And, if you took a really good hunter, or somebody who loved hunting, and then you just paraded a whole bunch of animals in front of them, like
take your pick.
They didn't even have to look for them. That doesn't appeal in a way, is too easy. And I think that if a woman has a sense of her value, she'll let a man know what it takes to be maybe with her.
Well, it doesn't mean that she plays hard to get and turns him down, because that can backfire too. But let me give you an example. I know a guy that went out on a date with this woman, and he thought she was fairly attractive. And the first date afterwards, she called him and said, "Well, how did I do on the date? When can I see you again?" And it was immediately like, he felt like she was too eager. Like she was saying, "When are we going to go out again?" And do you like me? And it scared him. And he was actually looking for a wife. He was looking to get married, but it was too much, too quick.
Well, and that woman is displaying a insecurity. And that's why this all ties into self-worth. It's like she's displaying this insecurity and she doesn't really realize it.
So don't be more.
So don't do that.
Don't be more eager than he is.
Yeah.
Obviously, like this poor girl. And when I heard it, I thought, oh, I wish she had my book.
Now, I got to say, some shy men may need a little encouragement.
That's true.
You may be able to tell a difference. Some men are a little more assertive and they know what they want and they're going to go after it. There's some men that need just a little bit of encouragement too. So you may have to be sensitive, maybe, a guy's style too. So.
Yeah.
Do not let a guy indicate twice that he's not that interested. That's humiliating for you, and it doesn't help the situation.
You mean if he are you saying if he turns down a date? Are you saying if he flat out says, I don't want to see you anymore? Like, is that what you're talking about?
I'm busy. And if he
He's
gives
not
you
interested. He seems not interested. And,
don't let him.
Don't have him keep telling you that he's not interested. That's not the right guy for you. Just don't keep letting him tell you, no, I'm not interested.
Well, the other thing is, if you don't keep going after him, that may actually get his interest more.
That's true.
Right.
He's going to. So it could, because all people are different, we can't say he will do that, because men aren't like cut out of
Is it fair to say that masculine men like to be the pursuers? I know you said with a shyer man, maybe not so much, but more masculine men tend to want to be the pursuers?
Yes.
I think generally, men are sort of, I call them hunters. They like a target. They like something to work on. Now, I think that they'll see something that is interesting and, say, hey, that looks good. And they'll pursue you. They'll come after you if they're interested. I heard one woman, I saw her, she did something really interesting. She saw a man she kind of liked, and she just, in the group, she just said, now, what was your name again? And he said his name, and then she basically just left. I mean, she just left it in the air like that. And he kind of went, what was that? Just her not being too easy, but she did show an interest. What's your name again? I'm John. Oh, okay. And then she sort of exited. And I thought that was an interesting approach to get a man's interest. It sounds like, no, you should keep going. No, sometimes best thing to do is just let him know you're there. And then if he's interested, he'll pursue you.
Number 3, feminine boundaries. We've talked about boundaries before. Boundaries are very important. They help, and boundaries does not mean that he doesn't do what you tell him to do. It's the way you're treated. Like if you say, my husband or boyfriend or whatever doesn't take out the trash, your boundary isn't that you give him a rule like that. And
it's more what you will do.
Yeah.
It's what you can live with. Or
a boundary is like if someone has these unwritten rules that you don't talk about certain, those are boundaries. Boundaries are what, how quick you jump into a physical relationship. It's to do with interpersonal stuff, not with tasks.
And we did a whole video on boundaries.
Yeah, we did
I can attach that too.
And and sometimes boundaries also includes an appropriate response to bad behavior. And even good men are not perfect, and they do things that might hurt your feelings. Like they may be, we talked about this before, this is girlishness, they might be grumpy or irritated or just take something out on you. Good boundaries means you don't become a doormat. You don't let him do that, because he'll respect you more. And people like knowing where their boundaries are with people.
Yes.
Like, how far can I push this? I've had a problem a few times in my life. We've hired a cleaning lady, but I am such a kind of a pushover. I'm such a relationship person that I'm always afraid to make them work too hard. So gradually they do a really good job at first, and gradually they get messier and messier about their job. And then I have to get rid of them because they don't really clean good. So that's my boundary. Number 4 your feminine way of speaking. One of the things we talked about in that is conversation, especially when you're single, the art of conversation and how to talk to him, especially if you're kind of shy yourself, uncomfortable, maybe not real experience with talking with men, particularly masculine men. And, you know, to do that, a good sense of humor is great, not dirty, but a good sense of humor, appropriate humor where nobody's embarrassed. When you're talking, try not to monopolize the whole conversation.
I think being playful, perhaps. Yeah.
Sometimes men do it, but I see more often with women, when they're nervous, they speed talk because they're just nervous and they don't really mean to. So
I would say ask him about himself.
Yes.
Get him talking about him, because that's a favorite subject. He enjoys that often.
Most people's
and
favorite subject.
And if you show a sincere interest as you speak, he's going to respond to that. That's going to be, she's interested in not just telling me about her and all the things going on in her life and showing me all of her pictures. And, you know, I mean, she's showing some interest outside of her.
I think too, the opposites attract thing comes back into this. If you have a woman that is kind of trying to, I don't know, sometimes women try to be one of the guys and they don't mean to, and then they catch themselves in a conversation starting to mimic a guy's way of talking. And I know this probably sounds weird for people that don't struggle with this, but it is a problem that we hear women talk about a lot. Is they'll be in a conversation and all of a sudden she sounds like a guy and she's talking to him about sports and stuff, which is fine. But then she starts to kind of, I don't know, become, yeah. And so if you can really just keep that in mind, that tip about opposites attract, especially when it comes to appearance and the way you're speaking, the masculine man is going to recognize you don't have to talk like a princess, but your softer tone and your graceful way of speaking and your hands and how you know, if you're doing all these rough movements, it's just not quite as attractive.
Well, it's kind of a hot topic, but my first thought goes to, because we all see it, is politics. Because I notice a lot of, not all, but a lot of female politicians tend to kind of adopt masculine mannerisms. Maybe they think that they'll be more successful if they do.
Well, it looks like strength. Women mistake it and think it's strength for them.
The problem is it's adopting a masculine style, which they're not playing to their strengths when they do that. It actually, I think, isn't as good. Women get called, they've complained and said they get called the B word when they do that, or they're aggressive instead of assertive, where they want to be thought of as assertive. But because they're women, and it's not playing to their strength, they come out looking aggressive, which is not what you want. And whereas a man gets away with some of these gestures, I can't do it like man. When women do it, it kind of is unattractive. So when you do it when you're dating, it's the same kind of a thing. Don't think that if you act like him, he's gonna like you more.
I always think about what you said in your book about the Disney villains. I think it's in the beginning of your book, and how the Disney villains, most of the women are more terrifying than the male villains. And I think I automatically go to Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty, and how she never acted like a man. She was very graceful and terrifying. Not that we want women to be terrifying. I think it's more just about, like, think about how you can be strong in different ways. If you are a strong woman and you don't want to attract a masculine man in the wrong way, you want him to know that you are a stronger woman. You don't have to display that strength by copying a man.
There's different kinds of strength than just physical strength. In fact, it takes a lot of strength to raise a child. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of strength to do something that you're scared to do, and you do it anyway. There's all kinds of strength. There's emotional strength in enduring something that you have to go through, and during a job loss and having to start over. That is also strength. The other Disney villain I was thinking of that terrified me was the wicked stepmother in Cinderella. And I think it was partly because her voice was so deep. And she moved really slow, and she didn't have a masculine way of moving, but she was terrifying because of her voice, and her voice sounded so intimidating and scary. And then the fifth one is and this is in some ways one of the most important, your feminine outlook on men. how do you see men? Some women today see men as kind of like rolling their eyes. Like
Yeah.
men are either to be not trusted or
Fools.
Fools. Yeah. Your attitude, that's going to be kind of hard to fake because men aren't stupid and they will sense it even if they don't know what it is. If your attitude is, oh, brother, it's a man thing, you know, and you make fun of the man cave. If you can learn to understand men, which is also in my book, Timeless, about understanding men, it's so important because realize, ladies, up front, most men don't ever get their masculine needs met. And I'm not talking about physical stuff. I'm talking about admiration and acceptance. Most men are starving when it comes to that. So that's something that you can do that will really help them. And it doesn't matter whether he's a guy that's helping you at the hardware store or somebody you're actually interested in. Treat men like they're valuable and that you have a basic respect for them.
Like you appreciate masculinity, and it's okay.
It'll come.
It's good to be a man.
Yeah, it'll come across.
Yeah,
it's the same way you would feel about him with women. If he is disrespectful towards feminine women, you're going to be, you as the feminine woman are going to be like, oh.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a group and someone makes these "women are so stupid" remarks? You don't want to be around that person.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell when some men act like women are, oh, brother.
I think men learning to understand women and women learning to understand men is probably a lifelong exercise.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
And I really think that you have done an amazing job in your book of explaining how to understand men, because as I read it and look at it, I think, yeah, no, this is right on track. I appreciate it.
Well, this has been really helpful. I know we could go on and on. There's way more than just these 5 tips, but this is where Dixie's book comes in, her workbook. You definitely have to pick up a copy of her book and her workbook if you want to learn more about all these subjects, because as you said, it's a big study. It's something that you kind of never stop doing. So I'll attach all the links below the video so you can find all the places to purchase our materials, as well as everywhere we are active on social media. And we are here every week. So don't forget to click subscribe so you know when we have a new video that comes out. And thank you guys so much for all of your wonderful advice. Thanks for being here.
Yes,
and
being here.
We will see you next time. Bye.
Next time.